Greetings, Internet, and welcome to Aaron Plays, and I hope you're doing fantastically well. In this episode, I'm going to continue my adventures in the upside-down Dragonbane, or the sideways Dragonbane, or it could be the correct way round Dragonbane. This will be my solo adventure with Marityne and Krisanna. I've got to remember her name. In the first sort of introductory episode, they did the introductory adventure, or as they called it in here, in the adventures book, which is called the opening scene. Okay, where our two heroes were attacked, ambushed by a couple of goblins and a goblin riding a warg. And it was a near-run thing. Marityne was seriously hurt. He went down to 0 hit points. Now, there's a couple of things that I need to do to round that particular adventure off, and that's where we'll start from. And then we'll show how using Mythic, another book, and I'll keep turning it to the side, but there we go, moves on to the next scene, and we'll see what that next scene is and how it actually played out. So, without any further, if you can all do me a favor and do the like, subscribe, and comments, be much appreciated. But let's go down to the other screen. Okay, so here we are on our actual default screen with our two character sheets up. We're still in the Vale, though we're starting, the pass, and we're starting to walk towards the next scene. But now we have to pause to do some of the actual fiddly stuff. Okay, so Marityne was reduced to 0 hit points. And as an optional rule, which I think is a good one, it says severe injuries. If you have been reduced to 0 hit points but survived, you risk severe injuries that can take a long time to heal and even have permanent effects. So I've got to make a roll against his constitution. If you fail, roll on the table. There's a table in the book below. The healing time is hard if you rest and get medication care, at least, and it uses things time in a different way to most games, which we'll go through at some point. So he's got to make a roll against his constitution, and his constitution is 12. So he's got to roll 20 and 12. Can I? No, I can't. Oh, I can. Look, see? I can click on there. So if I click con, rolls a d20, and I can't see the roll. So can I get it up on here? There we go. Constitution. He rolled against constitution, so equal to or below. So he just by the hair of his chin avoids serious injury, which is, well, what I want. I don't want him to be injured, do I? But that needs to be brought into the game, and he survived that. Okay, so next thing, if you notice on here, on the actual character, there's these little red dots. These are skills that they successfully used during the previous episode. And this is how the experience point system works. They've gained those two, and we can gain other experience points for doing certain things in the session. So there's advancement marks. That's what they're called on there. So when you rolled a dragon, which is a 1, you can get a mark against a particular skill. Now, she did roll a dragon on her evade roll, which allowed her to get up beside the goblin, if you remember, and then as a bonus, I gave her the ability to, well, effectively get free attacking, which she did. She picked up a dagger and actually did a backstab and took him out. So that dragon has already been rewarded, even though she passed the skill, she's already been rewarded for that anyway. So the game system says when you have rolled a dragon or a demon is when you roll a 20. When you're using a skill, tick the checkbox next to that skill. At the end of the game session, the GM, which happens to be B2, after the following questions about the session you have completed. For each question that you can reply yes to and justify your answer, you may place another advancement mark next to an unmarked skill of your choice. The GM, which is still me, has the final word. Now, that was effectively an hour session. Now, I'm planning to, count a session as 3 hours sort of gameplay. So I'm not going to do this every time. But the questions are, did you participate in the game session? Well, I think they both participated. Did you explore a new location? The past. Did you defeat one or more dangerous adversaries? I would consider that warg a dangerous adversary. Did you overcome an obstacle without using force? No. And did you give your weakness? Did you give in to your weakness? Now, her weakness is reckless. Was she reckless in that? Not particularly. She used an awareness. He's faint-hearted, which, yeah, he did hang back a bit, but I'm not going to say he really explored that. So just for this first session, I'm going to say that they gain 1 additional tick mark on one of these skills. And I want it to be something that they tried to use or did use, even if they failed. So for our young halfling, I think, well, she was trying to prod poor Marityne back to health rather than actually sort of heal him. So I'm going to give her healing a tick mark. Okay. I'll explain what these tick marks mean in a moment. Now, what did he learn from this particular situation? Not much really. Beast law. Yeah. He's now learned that wargs are dangerous and to avoid them. Can't say evade. He didn't get out of anything. Healing, no. Didn't try to persuade anything. So none of the rest here really applies. So I'm gonna give his beast law. He's learned that dealing with wargs is a bit dangerous. So now we've placed those, as they call them, advancement marks. We get to make advancement rolls. So after you're placing your marks, roll a d20 for each of them. If the result exceeds your current skill, it is increased by 1, up to a maximum of 18. Once you've made your advancement rolls, erase the marks and start over for the next session. So that's what we're going to do. So Marityne, I'm going to give him a beast law roll. Now, tell you what, let's minimize her for the moment. And then we can see the rolls coming up here. Tell you what, we can even move him down to there. So it's beast law. He rolls a 1, so he doesn't improve on that because he's got to exceed his current score. So obviously getting mauled by a warg and thrown through the air, but it was about 8 meters over the creature's back. He learned nothing from that. What a bright spark. Oh, how to use crossbows. Did he learn anything from that? He did. So his skill increases by 1. Now, how do I do that on here? Do I just type that in? Make that 6. There we go. And then finally, his swords is currently at 12. He rolled a 6. No, he didn't really learn much from his swords. Then I can remove those actual marks from him. Okay. Then let's bring up Krisanna the Bold. Where is she? There she is. Okay. So evade, she's currently on 14. She rolls a 7. So she learned nothing new. She knows that to dodge away from creatures. Okay. Healing, though. Did she learn anything about prodding poor old Marityne? Okay. She didn't. She thinks prodding's good. Prodding is, damn prodding. Sorry, it brought you back. I brought you back with my prodding. We know as a GM, plus you guys watching that, that's not the truth. But as far as she's concerned, prodding is good. Prodding works. Did she learn anything about throwing and using her knives? She didn't either. So she pretty much didn't learn anything from that particular session. But that's how experience works in the game system. So, okay, so I've just brought up the scene sheet. So we've just done scene one. I'm not typing on here. I've got a real paper version sitting right next to me. I'm showing you what it looks like. So we've done effectively a scene one. I'm now going to go into scene two. The characters here I have listed is Krisanna and Marityne. We haven't had any new characters joined in. Okay. The current thread, there's only one thread at the moment, which is Seek Out Our Fortune. Okay. The chaos factor starts at 5. Now, after each scene, that needs to be adjusted either up or down. Now, by it going down to chaos factor of 4, that would mean we'd had to have been in control of that scene. I don't think we were particularly in control of that scene. We were ambushed. Marityne nearly died, no matter how much Krisanna prodded him. So I think that chaos factor is actually now at 6. Okay. And that's then really, so I now go to scene 2, where I do a scene setup for scene 2. Now, according to the adventure book, the next scene should be the arrival at the village called Outskirts. So I've written that in the scene setup. So in this area here, I have written arrival at Outskirts. However, now that I've determined that's going to be the next scene, as it says on this summary, it says come up with the scene setup, which is our arrival at Outskirts. However, roll a d10 against the chaos to see if the setup is modified. Okay, so the chaos is 6. But if I roll equal to or less than that, the chaos factor, so in the actual mythic, it says roll a d10. If you roll chaos factor or less, then the scene is modified. Okay, so we currently have, so I'm rolling a d10. Let's see where my d10 is. There you go, dice. Roll a single d10. And the number rolled is a 3. So it is less than the chaos factor. If you roll chaos factor or less, then the scene is modified. If you roll higher, then the scene begins just as expected. So something has happened between me going or to from the encounter in the past and arriving at the village of Outskirts. So we've got to find out what that is. Now we've rolled a 3, which is on here. I roll a d10 against the chaos to see if the setup is modified. As an altered scene, if it was odd, or an interrupt, even, we roll a 3, so it's odd. So it's an altered scene. So what is an altered scene? If the scene is altered, use logic to figure out how. The scene that actually begins is now not the one you initially came up with in the scene setup. So we're not arriving at Outskirts, but the next most logical scene idea. Okay, so something's happened between arriving at Outskirts and, as I say, the encounter that we just had. How do I determine that? But it says in the Mythic book, if when the altered scene setup, you aren't quite sure what's the most logical scene would be to replace your original setup, then phrase it as a fake question and check the chart. This also makes it more random, but still keeps the options within the realm of reason. As I want to play this as I don't know what the hell's going on, other than in the book here, the actual adventure book, I'm having something that's outside the adventure book. I'm going to make a roll on the fate chart. So I've got to do it as a yes or no question. So let's move this out the way for the moment. In fact, I think we've seen everything on that we need to see on this particular chart. So I'm going to close that one down. And there's the fate chart there. Okay. So now, what's the question? Do we arrive at Outskirts? Now, I'm not sure how far that is actually from the original. We haven't checked it checked the distances. I'd say it's still been raining. We haven't even looked at the map as yet. We know we got from the last episode that we got a map and we got part of a statue. So do we arrive at Outskirts, but not in the way it's described in the book? So I'm going to say that's 50-50. Okay, the chaos factor, however, is 6. So it's a 65% chance of a yes. Because I'm asking the question, do we arrive at Outskirts? So let me roll the D100. See what we get. Okay. Got 24. So we did arrive at Outskirts, but not as described in the arrival scene. So now I'm going to make a roll. Can I bring that up? On the event meanings. Okay, I'm going to bring in an event. So I'm going to make 2 random rolls on the D100. So I'm going to get an event meaning and an event action and event meaning subject. And from those two, I'm going to work out approximately what has happened on their journey to Outskirts. So let's look at the first roll, and I'll bring this back up. Okay, which is 98. It says overthrow. Overthrow. Oh dear, what does that mean? And then I'll roll for the subject meaning. So let's just bring that. It's another D100 roll. And we have 95. Nature. Overthrow nature. Now, from those 2 words, I need to sort of create a scene that my 2 characters will have had on the way to Outskirts. Okay, that's a little bit of a tricky one. Overthrow nature. Those aside. Now, we've got to remember that Marityne is still wounded. He's only got 5 hit points. He did take some damage from that, and they're not resting. So he's not. They're moving on the journey. So I'm going to read the arrival here, and then alter it as I see fit. It's still raining, and I'm going to have that rain. It's going to get stronger. Okay. The vegetation thickens into dense forest as Marityne and Krisanna descend towards the Misty Vale. Luckily, we can follow the remains of the same old path winding its way through the mountains and down into the forest. Here and there are weathered milestones protruding from the terrain, some of them decorated with stylized archaic crowns. A few miles from Outskirts, the forest thins out and opens into cultivated fields. Soon our intrepid heroes are squelching along muddy wagon tracks. Okay. The wagon tracks give way to the paved road that cuts through the high-grain fields. Countless smells invade our senses: manure, smoke, rotting vegetables. But also there is a smell of freshly baked bread and grilled meat. The rain thickens. The road leads to the settlement, surrounded by a palisade, with lots of small houses with smoking chimneys visible beyond its sharpened logs. The village gate, however, is closed, and flanked by 2 low but sturdy towers of stone, with crenellations and pointed wooden roofs. Our heroes draw closer. Then we hear a stern voice of a man barking out from one of the towers. "Halt, strangers! State your names and business or turn back to the forest. This is a place of peace and decency." So as you can see, that's the town map of Outskirts. We've arrived at the gate. I've actually read pretty much the arrival scene. So how is this now going to be altered? Well, as I said, the rain has increased. Marityne is injured. They haven't had a chance to rest. It's about a day later. I mean, they've had some uncomfortable sleep under rocks and such forth, and a little bit in the trees, but the rain is now pelting down. And I'm going to have a flash of lightning and thunder rumbling as this rain increases. The guard at the top there says, "I'm not opening the gate in this weather. You'll have to go back to the forest." Whereupon our young lady, Krisanna, says, "My friend is injured. Please open the gates." "I'm under strict orders not to do so. Not with these conditions. I have no way of seeing who you are through this rain, other than I know that there's someone there. It is," and there's another flash of lightning. "And I can see you when the lightning's on. Please go back to the forest. It's not too far." I'm going to have Marityne try to persuade. He's got a persuasion of 12. So let's see. He's going to say, "Please, I am injured, and we've had not much rest, and what rest we've had has been interrupted by the rain. Let us in, please." And here's his persuasion roll. Okay. His persuasion is... Why does that not come up on here? There it is. His persuasion is 12. He rolled a 10. That is success. So I will mark that on his sheet as a success. I know that's not true. Only mark it if it's a dragon. What will happen now is at the end of the this particular adventure part, after 3 hours play, I can mark persuasion because he's done persuasion. Or I'll tell you what, to remind myself, I will mark it, but I know it's not been done by a dragon. How will I show a dragon? Don't know yet. I'll have to work out a way. So he has done something on this way. Anyway, going back to the story. The guard says, "Okay, I'll let you in." Okay, and you hear there's a as he taps with probably a spear butt or something on what he's standing upon, and slowly the gates open with a creak. Obviously these hinges need oiling, and our two intrepid heroes enter the town of Outskirts or village. As Marityne and Krisanna enter through the gates, they are met by the guy who had been shouting at them before. He's obviously come down, and he says, "Greetings, my name is Hardy. I am of the village guard, and I am the captain of the guard, so please state your names and business here." Marityne, who's holding on to his wound, his stomach area, says, my name is Marityne, and I am an adventurer seeking my fortune in the Mystic Vale. And Krisanna says, "I'm with him. We're here together. We're coming in to seek our fortune. Honestly, we are good folk." "You're here to seek your adventures and such forth?" Yes." And there's another lightning as the rain continues down, and he wipes the waters from his face. Marityne says, "Oh, we come in peace." And Hardy says, "Well, I hope so. Okay. I think you should go to the Three Stags Inn, get yourself freshened up, and you need to see a healer." And Krisanna says, "Oh yeah, he's on his way to mend. I did that earlier when we encountered goblins." She sort of, "Goblins, I say, up in the pass." Hardy turns around and says, "Yes, there are goblins in the pass." And Marityne goes, "Please direct us to the inn." So Hardy is a battle-hardened war veteran in his 40s, with shoulder-length hair and a broken nose. He appears to be strong, and Though he has been rather gruff, he just nods his head now. So he's probably one of those strong, silent types. But he looks upon Marityne with sympathy and says, "Go to the inn, and I might be able to meet you there later." Follow the road round to your right, and that will take you to the inn. Okay. Marityne and Krisanna thank Hardy and start making their way. They have a bemused look at the large hill in the centre of town with all the buildings around it and this craggy stairway all the way up to the top. But they keep making their way around the village. Most of the buildings are of a wood affair. There's a fair few amount of people around. And yeah, they make their way and they arrive at the inn, which is located here. So as the two come into the center of the town. Okay, can I a little bit? Okay, this is the village square. You see the north gate over here. Okay. This is a low gateway, is flanked by two round towers of stone with pointed wooden roofs. A well-trodden path leads out through the gate and snakes off through the outside terrain. The gates are closed and there are people in the guard towers. Even though it's day, there are torches lit to account for the gloom of this rain that is beating down. They've arrived in the village square. Okay, they can see the inn, which is called the Three Stags. An impressive two-story building with a massive thatched roof and half-timbered walls. Outside the door hangs a red sign that says the Three Stags, beer, bed, and food at heavenly prices. Cheery voices spill out onto the street, along with the smell of roasted boar. They can also see the smithy and the shop all face open space where a weathered statue rises from the earth. It is a strange relic from a bygone era which seems to depict a warrior in antiquated armor. The smithy is this building here. And this is a large log building with an open front. The glow of hearth can be glimpsed through the smoke. And from the hooks in the ceiling hang all kinds of weapons and armor and pieces. You can also hear the sounds of heavy hammer blows, and a melodic dwarven rumble is pouring out into the village square. Boom! Another flash of light, thunder and lightning is heard. The storm is directly overhead. And as our two heroes make through towards the inn, which they can see, wiping the water from their eyes. Our two heroes enter through the door of the inn and out of the rain. Now, yes, it's a bit of a stretch of the overthrown nature, but it does alter from the scene that was written in the book. So it was, as we said, an altered scene rather than interrupt. So they got to the village, they get to the inn. Okay. The Three Stags is a village watering hole. There is a smell of roasting boar, as I've said, and as our intrepid adventurers enter, they meet, and I'm going to move this now to another screen so you can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to move this to the empty tabletop, I've got the current NPCs that we've met and such forth. So we met Hardy, and now we're going to meet another character called Vagnhild. There we go. Let's bring her through. Let me do that. Oh, she's tiny. Let's make her grow up a little bit. There we go. All right. Yeah, there we go. NPC. Okay. So as they enter the inn, they are approached by this lady, as are welcomed by Vagnhild. Greetings. It's got to get a different voice. Greetings, my friends. How do you do? Welcome to my inn, the Three Stags. I can see you are world weary. Please sit at a table, and I will bring you some mead. Vagnhild is an authoritative but jovial woman in her 40s. She keeps her greying hair in bulky braids and wears a thick leather apron. Vagnhild carries herself with an air of authority. She brings over the 2 drinks of mead and plonks them on the table. Enjoy, and let me know when you are ready to eat. Marityne turns and says, have you a healer in town? I am wounded. I have been stabbed by a goblin and savaged by his warg. Is there a healer that can possibly turn? I healed you. You're alive. That is maybe, Krisanna, but this wound does not seem to be getting much better. And maybe we need some bandages from the store. I noticed across the way. But is there a healer in town? Of course. I'll make sure he is summoned immediately. Okay, so if you look at the village map, I've just added a new location, number 11, because the book's only got 10. I've requested a healer. There's no healer in the book. So, village needs a healer. That seemed a prime location for one, near the door there. Do I have any details about the healer? Other than I've got a name now, Gruna. No more details than that. I don't know. What happens is, though, is Vagnhild sends out one of her lads that work in the inn, Three Stags, to go and get the healer. We're going to have a quick look around the inn, what we see, and then I'm going to call it the end of this actual scene. So let's go back to where we were, which was the empty tabletop. We have seen these 2 NPCs and a little bit of rest of it. So the inn, as I say, smells very pleasant. They've been given a complimentary mead. The smell of them roasting meat is making Marityne and Krisanna start to salivate. It smells nice. They look around the inn. There is a rather pretty young serving girl who is currently serving beers to a group in the corner of, well, they look like scum. They are roughly dressed, tattooed. They've got their weapons beside them, and sitting with them is a mallard. Yes, this system has duck characters, and there is a duck wearing a shroud, and they're grouped together in the corner, and there's the occasional cackle coming from over there. Marityne and Krisanna look around, and also in the opposite corner, giving this group some rather disdainful looks, is another young lady dressed in some fine looking armor. She is well armed as well. Next to her, there is a morning star. The mallard and this young lady keep staring at each other with severe scowls. And the mallard will nudge one of the others that's with him and will cackle. I'm not sure quite how to do a duck voice, whack, whack, but there we go. So there is people in this inn. We'll need to set another scene, but that will be in the next episode. Let me bring us back to the top, and we'll see where we go from there. Well, I did change the opening scene a little bit. Using, well, say the opening scene, the arrival scene, arrival at Outskirts. They've arrived at their inn. There's obviously some tensions going on between the mallard and that young lady. We'll need to investigate what that is. I haven't read in detail what's going on in here. I will do for a little bit for the next session to see. Obviously, there's two rival groups there. Not sure the exact details of what's going on. And the town didn't have a healer. I mean, I had a quick run through some of the NPCs. Couldn't find a healer. So I created one. I have to develop that NPC a little bit and see who, what, and where, and probably find a picture for him as well. All other than that, I've determined he's human and where he lives, and put a numbered location on there so I can add that notes to this. Okay, so it was an adjusted scene. I did adjust it from what's written in the book of their entrance. I mean, the basics were the same, but there was the thunder and the lightning. And we overcome. It says overthrow. Okay, how do you overthrow nature? Yeah, you got to try and make sort of a logical conclusion. It didn't read straight from the book. That's the main thing I was aiming for there. We were right. He hasn't had a chance to recover from his wounds. That's the other thing. Because if the rain had stopped and so forth, they could have rested up on the road and he would have recovered his wounds and so on. So at the present moment, he's still weak. We need a healer, and the adventure continues. We've got two NPCs that we focus on. We've got new ones to develop, as I said, plus also there's all these other characters which I need to know a little bit about them. And whatever, again, is written in the book, I could then twist it, divert it, and so on. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. I enjoyed doing it. Let me know, again, with the comments and likes and subscribe. It all helps the channel. But until next time, play games, have fun, and I'll see you. Bye, Internet.